You know, even with all this good stuff going on about this player, I still don't think he's done it yet. You know? Like, I still think the best is absolutely yet to come, and I still think he's kind of underrated amongst other NHL fans that aren't really keeping up with the LA Kings. Let's add ourselves another perspective here into the queue of 1 year later videos in 2021. The first time we talked about Alexis Lafreniere, we spoke about his debut year in the NHL, but today we're taking a look at the second overall pick at the 2021 NHL Entry Draft, Quinton Byfield, and just reviewing what happened last year, where he was a year ago, where he is today, and what happened from then until now. So, Quinton Byfield, as you kind of know if you're a hockey fan, second overall pick by the LA Kings in the 2020 NHL Entry Draft. He's a guy 6'4", 220, 19 years old, one of the youngest players in the entire 2020 NHL Entry Draft, and a guy who had been significantly hyped ever since he was like 15, 16 years old. We seriously made a video about him back when I was in grade 12 in high school, so 2017, 2018, he popped up in my edition of the Hockey News. It was the Future Watch edition with Matthews, Marner, and Nylander on the front. Yeah, that edition. I'm pretty sure some of you might have seen it. But Byfield was a feature all the way back then. And that was 2 years before he was drafted. Now we're 1 year removed. Let's talk about what happened in his draft year, how exactly he projected, and where that leads him to today. So, in his draft year with the Sudbury Wolves 2019-20, Quinton Byfield had 82 points in 45 games played. Wowzers, absolutely phenomenal right there. He was almost at 2 points a game. He was one of the youngest guys in the entire CHL that was doing this kind of stuff, and one of the youngest guys of the draft period. As we noted, August 2002 is the birth date. This means that Quinton Byfield was almost an entire year younger than guys like Marco Rossi, for example, who was the top point producer in the entire CHL, but who was born in September 2001. So you can kind of see there's an 11-month difference in age between the guys like Rossi and the guys like Byfield. Obviously, you know, Rossi was a lot smaller too, which is kind of why he dropped to Minnesota at 9th overall. Either way, though, Quinton Byfield was this big, absolute behemoth of a man, even though he was only 17, turning 18 years old. He had all these points in the OHL, and he went second overall. The reason being is because he boasted a really similar blend of, let's say, Ryan Getzlaf and Evgeny Malkin. Because, sure, he was a big body, solid frame, heavy body, but he was going out there like a ballerina. He could twirl around guys, he can blitz by guys too, and his playmaking ability was off the charts. Sure, he could score goals, and he had a ton of goal-scoring potential, but Quinton Byfield excelled when the puck was on his stick, and you just gave him the authority to do whatever it is that he felt like he needed to do. If he needed to drive to the front of the net, do a power move and get over and score a goal that way, he'd do it. If he could find a slight passing seam to an open guy in front, he would do that too. His deception ability and his qualities of just being able to take over a shift, they were really good and really, really special, which is why he went second overall. He had franchise potential in many people's eyes. This is the guy who, if he was drafted, let's say in 2019, he might have gone first overall over Jack Hughes. 2018, it's difficult because it's a defenseman that went first overall, Dahlin. In 2017, would he have gone first over Hischier or Patrick? Yeah, Byfield would have. So this is the kind of profile of a prospect that people assume we were dealing with here, that Jack Eichel, second overall, this is absolutely not a consolation prize over there. And Quinton Byfield was so hyped up, even though he had what a lot of people would say was a poor World Junior showcase. He had 1 point in 7 games played for Team Canada at the 2020 World Juniors. However, you gotta remember, Alexis Lafreniere, he shined at this tournament, yes, but Alexis Lafreniere was born in October of 2001. He is also almost a full year older than Byfield. So when Lafreniere went out there, dominated the 20 World Juniors, people were like, okay, wait, in 2019, Lafreniere made the World Junior team too, and in that season, he was not really doing anything. He wasn't given any chances, he didn't produce any points. It's kind of the similar story here with Quinton Byfield, so a lot of people were looking at it and saying, wait a minute, you can't say that Byfield was bad because he had a poor World Junior showing, only 1.7 games played, the guy was using the fourth line, what more do you want? And so, you take a look at where things went in 2020-2021, the 1 year later version of this entire story here, I guess. Quinton Byfield plays for the Ontario Reign because the OHL does not start up. Yeah, I get that. That's cool. But As an 18-year-old playing in the AHL, he gets 20 points in 32 games played. Certainly not a bad number in the slightest for a guy who is literally a teenager playing in a league where traditionally teenagers don't usually play in. Now, to be fair, Quinton Byfield was not the top point producer amongst these just recently drafted AHL players. You had Cole Perfetti out there with 26 points in 32 games played. He had other guys like Seth Jarvis, for example, we spoke about him in a previous video if you want to check that out, who had higher point per game rates as well. He had 11 points in 9 games played, absolutely fantastic right there. But Quinton Byfield was still working at it, and with the Ontario Reign, he showcased himself off as just that talent that you really wanted to see. He was doing his thing, he was producing against men, playing with his big frame against the most competitive competition he's ever had. At the World Juniors, he was a point-per-game player, and I get it, a lot of people would look to Dylan Cousins, for example, and say, wow, Dylan Cousins had 16 points, Byfield only had 7, what gives? Jakob Pelche had 7 points, Peyton Krebs had 8, all these other guys were outproducing Byfield, man, are you kidding me? What a bust. Not going to get into that conversation right here. You can go ahead, check out some of the videos we made. We made videos during the World Juniors talking about Byfield. Lo and behold, Team Canada was stacked. They distributed the ice time pretty evenly amongst everybody, and Quinton Byfield was one of the many cogs of a very deep, very stacked team that ultimately did lose in the final game because, hey, Zagreus on the other side, eh? He had a plan, and they really went out there and executed it. Either way, though, Quinton Byfield ended off his 2021 campaign with 6 games played with the LA Kings. He had 1 point, 1 assist, and a lot of people would look at that and say, dude, he's a bust. He played in the NHL, only had 1 point. What's going on, man? But this is kind of where things diverge. Because you will find every LA Kings fan pretty much going to bat for Quinton Byfield, ready to sacrifice their heart and soul if you were to bet on whether or not Quinton Byfield is a good addition or not. Because Quinton Byfield, in the limited sample he had with the LA Kings, you could see that there was a little bit of a transition process from the beginning. He wasn't super comfortable right away, but as the games went on, as he started to get more ice time, he got his feet a little bit wetter, he started to keep up with NHL speed a little bit more, you could see that the cogs were starting to turn in his mind. He was starting to get the hang of it and adapt to what was ultimately a brand new style of game. Now, I don't want to make it seem like right away in 2021, 2022, he's going to be a point-per-game superstar with the Kings. He might not even play with the LA Kings. They might send him to the AHL again because, come on, Kopitar, Deneau, Vilardi, lots of guys over there. But Byfield was kind of adjusting on the fly in his limited sample, and by the time he finished up the 6 games, he was a much different player compared to when he started. And you can see that the understanding of what it took to be an NHL athlete in the moment was a lot more magnified and refined. He adjusted so quickly that this is the kind of thing that I kind of fear for the rest of the league, Because Quinton Byfield, sure, he's a skilled guy, big guy, good tools. He's really extraordinarily smart as well. And when you have this kind of player who was able to adjust in just the span of 6 games to NHL speed and NHL competition, it really begs the question, okay, he did that when he was 18. What more when he's 19? What more when this guy's going to go out there as a 20-year-old, when he has 2 seasons of pro hockey under his belt? How exactly is Quinton Byfield going to fare when he makes his full-time NHL 82-game season debut, maybe this year, maybe next year? It's kind of up in the air, but honestly, the best is yet to come, and I get it. When it comes to the numbers, the point production and all that, you can see, it's not anything special. This is not a McDavid who's getting 2 points a game wherever he goes. This is a standard progression of a guy who is just so young in this development path that I think you kind of have to give him a pass. If Quinton Byfield was born a month later, he would not have been eligible for the 2020 draft. He would probably have gone first overall in the 2021 draft by far. So this is the kind of player who, if you assume he's just a 1 month older 2021 eligible guy who was going out there under a point per game in the AHL, you think about it that way and it starts to click, okay, this is a really special player. Sure, he may not have broken out yet, but oh boy, when he breaks out, he's going to break out. So, Kings fans, talk to me in the comments. How did I do? How did I do talking about your guy? I know you guys will go to bat for this guy to the ends of the world and back. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about Quinton Byfield, 1 year removed from the 2020 NHL Entry Draft? I hope you enjoyed this British Rolls 99. And bye.